it's gonna be September soon. This month I didn't get to read much. I was busy working. It really was a very difficult month. Lots of changes, many events. Recently there was a celebration. I got some handwritten notes. Those made me tear up a little bit. I also got rocks. They're kind of cute. I'm gonna show you. I've got this rock. It's cute, right? It's so cute. I also got this rock. Very cute, eh? I just think it's so quaint. It's not something that I would ever receive from an adult, definitely not. So thankfully, the end of the work quarter has finally arrived. That does not mean that I will get to read more. In fact, I think that I will most likely need to choose what I read wisely. Like, I need to make sure that I don't read something too heavy because I won't have the mental capacity to process it. Maybe I'll just stick to, like, you know, a genre. Maybe like fantasy. I can sort of really use my reading time, however limited, to properly relax instead of think too much about how am I supposed to interpret this. This month I read 3 books, as I mentioned. The first book that I read was, I used my Kindle, Stone Blind, Medusa's Story by Natalie Haynes. So this is actually an advanced reading copy that I got from Nat Galley. I've read her other novels like Children of Jocasta, which I really liked and I gave 5 stars to. I also quite liked her other novel, 1,000 Ships. So I would say that my expectations for Stone Blind were quite high. Thankfully, like, this book actually kind of met all my expectations. I was hoping that it wouldn't be too much like 1,000 Ships. The scatteredness that did not appeal to me in her second book was reined in quite a lot in her third. So yes, she still does adopt multiple perspectives, but I feel like the focus is still on a few characters, namely Medusa's sisters, Andromeda, Perseus's mother, Danae. So for this book, the characters that we get to hear from are those who are directly affected by Perseus's journey. So Perseus is kind of like the glue that holds all these characters together, but I thought it was very interesting how he's not given like a voice per se. Like, we don't really need to hear his voice. We are not really encouraged to side with him, because every time he does something that he thinks is heroic, or he does something that, you know, follows the myth that we are supposed to celebrate, almost instantly his narrative is undercut by one of the peripheral narratives, which, you know, show actually how he is cruel, how he's thoughtless, how he's perhaps not the hero that we should be celebrating because he created many victims in the process of him getting what he wanted. And even when he manages to sort of like rescue Andromeda, for example, it is immediately undercut by another person asking us, are you sure that this is something he wrote? Because doesn't it show that actually he didn't really think too much about his mother? He was very busy trying to play hero, when if he truly was a filial son, he would have just gone straight back to save his mother. But he didn't. Right? He didn't. We also get another opportunity to view his so-called heroic actions through Andromeda's parents' perspectives. So they're not like, you know, they're not going to win any Parent of the Year awards, definitely. But I think that they do have a point when they say that he seemed to take too much pleasure in killing the priest. Like, he just takes too much joy in killing. And sometimes his killing is quite indiscriminate. He doesn't care who he kills, he doesn't care who he hurts. All he cares about is winning at any cost. So that in itself is already very problematic, and I think like it does challenge his status as hero. And also throughout this whole narrative, even though Medusa, she is sort of a victim, but we also see her as somebody who does not wallow in her victimhood. Like, it's also suggested in this book that she didn't fight Perseus not because she couldn't, but because she stuck firmly by her belief that she did not want to kill anybody at all, even if that person was coming to kill her. It's not that she's a victim, but that at the end of the day, she stands by her beliefs, she stands by her principles, even for the incident where Poseidon attacked her, it wasn't so much as she had no choice, but that she made a choice to save somebody that she didn't know, and in exchange sacrificing herself. So I felt that Medusa's character was very interestingly rewritten in this way. She still is a victim, yes, but it did reframe her victimhood a little bit differently. Athena in this novel is still a huge bitch. I think that it's very difficult to write Athena as a nice person, because she's not. She's kind of like I'm not like the other girls kind of woman. If you can even call a goddess a woman, that's the thing, right? I don't even feel like she's much of a woman. In my head, right, I have this headcanon of like Athena being queer-coded, but that's just like, you know, how I see it. I just think that her disavowal of anything to do with other women, plus her disdain of other women, plus her internalized misogyny, plus her need to pander to the other gods in the area, specifically only the male gods, it's kind of telling. All I can say is she would not be out of place if she had, like, you know, a male form, because she would fit right in with the misogynist. That's just how I feel. That's Athena. But, you know, even though she is portrayed as she usually is, as somebody that is selfish, someone who is out to punish women for the things that men did, because she's unable to do anything to retaliate directly, there are still these moments in the novel where you can't help but agree with her. For example, when she is ragging on Perseus, when she is pointing out his flaws, and also when she questions what he believes. Like, she describes Medusa to him. She didn't say Medusa was a monster. All she said was that Medusa had a head of snakes, and Perseus immediately made the link from head of snakes to monsters. And Athena was the one to say, I didn't say she was a monster. You are the one who thinks that anything that doesn't look like you is a monster. So throughout the whole novel, you can like the characters, dislike the characters, agree with them, disagree with them, sympathize with them, not sympathize with them. But I think that the crux of it is that the idea of Perseus being a hero is just completely dismantled in this novel. It's definitely a fun read. Not fun in that you get to feel very happy, but that it is an adventurous, somewhat like experimental informed kind of read. Compared to Children of Jocasta, it is about just as depressing, but I still think Children of Jocasta comes first. Yeah, it's very difficult to beat her first novel for me. Book of Goose by yiyun. I've read her other book before, the Must I Go. I wouldn't say that I particularly enjoyed it. It was very difficult, or maybe because I was reading it while getting my sleeve, so I associate reading that book with a lot of pain. I think that Book of Goose was a lot better written. Maybe it's just me, you know, trying to read subtext into everything, but I really think that the main characters in this book, which are like two girls, they are queer-coded. Like, definitely, I would die on this hill. I just really think that they were written in that particular way. What this book is about is written from the perspective of this girl called Agnes. So Agnes right now, she's married to an American. She comes from France. She grew up in the French countryside. So she has a childhood best friend called Fabienne. One day she receives a letter from her mother informing her that Fabienne has died in childbirth. So she went in the way of her older sister Jolene, who also died in childbirth last time. This whole book is a bit long. It's definitely dense. I wouldn't say that it's for a casual reader. It reads to me as one long love letter to Fabienne. Like, she is memorializing her best friend, like how she was, how their friendship was, how important Fabienne was to her. This was underscored over and over again. You get a sense that there is regret behind her narrative. She didn't convey how she felt while Fabienne was alive, so she was kind of posthumously trying to make it up to her afterwards by writing this book. Story goes that Fabienne was actually the leader in their friendship. Like, Fabienne came up with the stories, Fabienne led all their games, and Agnes, she was just happy and content to follow Fabienne. She worshipped Fabienne. Fabienne was her world, her entire world, since childhood. So you're starting to see where this is going, right? And then after that, Fabienne one day decides that she wants to write a book. but she wants the book to be published under Agnes's name. She says that Agnes has the look for it, whereas Fabienne, she is not pretty enough, she's not refined enough, she's not likable enough. So she wants Agnes to be the face of their book. They write another book. By then, Agnes, she has sort of been like forcibly enrolled into a boarding school in the UK. So she goes all the way to London, where she attends a boarding school for girls, and she is miserable because she's far away from Fabienne. All she can think about is, how do I get home? She knows that, you know, this was something that Fabienne wanted for her. Fabienne wrote letters to Agnes under the guise of her imaginary older brother Jacques. Jacques is supposed to be Agnes's petit ami, like a boyfriend. But the thing is, Fabienne is the one writing those letters. So she's writing letters as herself, and she's also writing letters as her older brother, who is Agnes's boyfriend. And when you look at the letters and you look at the kind of relationship that Agnes and Jacques built through the letters, it is definitely romantic. You could definitely say that they built some kind of romantic relationship, even if it was built on a lie. The fact that Fabienne was masquerading as a boy made it possible for them to take their friendship and their relationship to a different dimension, even while preserving their friendship. One day, Agnes, she couldn't take it anymore, so she decided to give it all up, and she went home to her village. When she went home to the village, Jacques was conveniently killed, like he killed himself. And then Fabienne pointed at a random grave spot and was like, this is where he was buried after he killed himself because he was too sad about being away from you. Agnes, she holds on to this dream that the two of them can just run away to Paris and live together and never need another person again, never ever let another person into their bubble ever again. But Fabienne, she's a bit more realistic. She says, you say that now, but we cannot fulfill this dream. And in a few years, you are going to change and you're going to leave me behind. So why don't we just end it now? I don't know about you, right? But to me, it just sounds and reads a lot like a breakup. So the thing is, Agnes, she herself has also come to a realization that when they were children, they really had the best time of their lives together. They could pretend that they didn't have to grow up, didn't have to fulfill their responsibilities of marrying, having children, taking care of the farm, etc, etc. But now that they are 15 years old, they are on the cusp of adulthood and they have to stop their childish games. Even if the childish games were real, they can never ever become life real. So it's definitely queer-coded to me. I strongly believe that all of this was just one big hint that they loved each other, but it was just not feasible for them to be together. And then she and Fabienne, they just drift apart until Fabienne dies, and then now she's thinking back and writing this story. I gave it 4 stars, not because the story is not good, but because it's very dense. I just feel that, you know, readability should be one of the components of whether or not a book gets like a perfect score for me. It was very affecting. If you are interested in sapphic novels, this would definitely be considered sapphic, so go ahead and read it. Okay, the last book over here, when you get the chance, is another book by Emma Lord. I've read 2 of her other books before. Tweet Cute, You Have a Match. When you get the chance is similar in the sense that it also talks about social media and how young people nowadays use social media. So if you've watched the movie Mamma Mia, you know, the one starring Amanda Seyfried, I'm sure you remember the plot, which is that there's this girl and she would like to go and find out who her father is. Turns out that her mother had flings with 3 different men at that time, so she has no idea which one of these is her father. So she invites all of them over and then she tries to figure out which one is her father. So similarly, our protagonist in this book, Millie Price, she was raised by a single father. However, one day she stumbles upon his old life journal. Yeah, like blogger, you know, like, but it's life journal. So I don't know about you, but in my time, a blogger was like all the rage. So it's kind of wild to read a book now where a blogging platform is a plot device for a teenager to find her parents. It just makes me feel very old. But you know, the thing is, it's plausible. Her dad's life journal was from 2003. He maintained it when he was in college, When he was in college, he was this dorky Lord of the Rings fan, and he had relationships, I guess you can call them relationships, or like at the very base level, like some sort of friendship with 3 different women at that time. So one of these women had her, then brought the baby over and was like, I can't do it, you raise her, and then she disappeared. Millie wants to find out who her mother is. She does it not by inviting all of them over to her house to figure it out, but by stalking these women online. She finds out where they work and what they do, and then she finds a way to like integrate herself into their area. So for example, she figured out that one was working in a company, so she tried to get an internship in that company. She found out another was a dance instructor, so she signed up for dance classes. And then she found out that one holds like this Broadway fan club that does regular meetups, and she joined the regular meetup. And when she was doing all that, she was just trying to figure out which one of these 3 women would most likely be my mother. Plot-wise, I would say that it's definitely predictable, but this is not the kind of book you read to be surprised. This is the kind of book you read to relax and just have some fun. I gave it 3 stars. I think that the cast is definitely colorful enough. It could possibly even become some kind of a Disney movie in the future. If you like romance, then yeah lah, this is an okay read. I think it finally stopped raining. It's been raining the whole day. So that's all I read this month. Just 3 books. Next month, I'm planning to read the Poppy War trilogy. Maybe I'll read Kayaki, if I even have time. It's just going to be non-stop work. Even during the holiday, I have like so much work lined up that I have to clear during the holiday that it's not a holiday anymore. So that's it for this month. Thanks for watching. I'll see you when I see you. Bye.